Good morning, Wright State University, and welcome to the Wright Morning Show on WWSU. Start your day the right way with us. We will be covering current events in the news, local, national, and from Wright State. We will provide a daily dose of inspiration and positivity to lighten your day. And we will have a special feature depending on the day of the week. So grab your tea or your coffee, sit back, relax, and enjoy the Wright Morning Show. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Wright Morning Show for Tuesday, November 16th, 2021, Taco Tuesday. Or Trivia Tuesday in our case. On the phone line this morning, we have Harmony. How are you doing this morning?
I am alive. Yay.
Awesome.
I made it through COVID. I want my lime wedge. There you go.
Yeah. So, why did you test negative for once? Or
no, they say that if you go test again, that you would probably test a false positive. And that you shouldn't have to retest because I think they said something about how it kind of hangs in your system for a while.
Yeah.
So they said don't retest. Just make sure that you're 2 weeks out from the day when you tested positive, and that's when your infection and all that crap should be gone. That's why they say quarantine for 2 weeks because it takes about anywhere from what I'm thinking now. It probably takes about, I'd say 24 to 48 hours to incubate, and then you're full on into it. So as soon as you start getting your first signs or symptoms, I would definitely say quarantine yourself. Ain't worth it. So
Indeed.
Yeah.
We've been hearing.
No fun. I'm pretty sure this was what they call the COVID cold, but I don't think anybody out there would want any part of it, regardless of how mild or whatever it may be, because it's still really heavy duty, ultimately when you look at it and when you're going through it. So I'm still wheezing, but other than that, just grateful to be able to start eating again. And,
are you getting your taste and smell senses back?
Smell a little bit, yeah. It comes and goes. Taste, it comes and goes. So sometimes it may be stronger, sometimes it's not so much. Still can't hear out of my right ear.
Interesting.
Still coughing crap up, but I actually slept last night, so that was amazing.
That's a good sign.
Yeah, so we're coming out of it, and I even ordered our organic, antibiotic-free, free-range turkey for Thanksgiving.
Nice.
Yes, so hopefully you and your mask will come over for something to eat. We'll be disinfected by then completely and having some good times, playing Mad Libs and all kinds of stuff. So
I think we might do, depending on timing, we might do a special Thanksgiving Day morning show. Who knows? Where
we could do that.
We give gratitude for everything in our lives.
Yeah, I could have Nick come grab you up and spend the day because it's going to take a day to eat all the food.
All right.
20-pound turkey, I think we're making it.
Oh,
so,
my gosh. That's a big turkey.
That's all they had.
All right. Well, we shall get into our current events on that note. So we're going to go ahead and start off with WHIO. Opposition heats up over proposed solar farm in Greene County. For nearly 3 years, some property owners in Greene County have been fighting a proposed massive industrial solar project. Tonight, many of the property owners will be at the Greene County Fairgrounds to confront Vesper Energy, the company that wants to build the solar project. For years, signs have been posted along many of the roads in rural Greene County, but those signs could soon be replaced by hundreds of thousands of solar panels if the Kingwood Solar Project moves forward. It's going to be a part of what you see every time you come to this area, said Joe Krajicek, He is a lifelong farmers and agricultural advocate and said 17 property owners have signed a lease with Vesper Energy. But when he was approached about the opportunity several years ago, he turned it down. Krajicek is now part of a group of citizens for Green Acres, which was formed by hundreds of people. Yeah, that's a pretty pretty clever name there.
We need to get Arnold the pig in the picture now.
Which was formed by hundreds of people concerned about how the solar panels would impact their communities, landscape, and lives. You can't fix one problem with renewables and create another one. It's not that we're against solar, we just think it could be done more responsibly, Krajicek said. Project is suspected to be located south of Clifton Road and west of Ohio Route 72 in Cedarville and Miami and Xenia Townships.
Bible Belt and Country.
You can read more at WHIO.com.
I'm going to have to check that out.
Yes. Also from WHIO, Dayton Church is to host a Thanksgiving dinner basket giveaway to feed families in need. A Dayton church says it will be providing over 500 Thanksgiving dinner baskets to the public on Saturday.
Aww.
Freedom Faith Missionary Baptist Church and Functioning Families Make Better Communities is hosting the drive-thru giveaway on Saturday, November 20th at 11 a.m. The public is asked to line up no earlier than 10:30. The location is 6540 North Main Street. The church says the giveaway will be first come, first served and will last until the food runs out. So go get your basket. Dayton Daily News has an article, Dayton area leader named president of the state school board, so check that out. From WDTN, a 1-year-old was hit by a car in Dayton and passed away.
Aww.
A 1-year-old child who was hit by a car in Dayton last week has died. The Montgomery County Coroner's Office said the child was Avian Chapman. The crash happened in the afternoon of November 10th in the 4500 block of Blue Haven Drive. Chapman was taken to Dayton Children's Medical Center where he was in critical condition. Police said impaired driving is suspected in the crash. Several people were taken into custody at the time of the incident while police investigated. As of Monday, this incident is still under investigation. And once the investigation is complete, the driver could face charges of aggravated vehicular homicide, said DPD Sergeant Carnes. An autopsy will be performed later Monday to determine the cause of Chapman's death. That was yesterday. Still no word yet as to the cause. Hamilton Journal News has an article about Whaley, who joins Biden at a bill signing and lauds funding for Ohio projects. Check that out at Hamilton Journal News. From WDTN, a local nurse is named among best in nation by ANCC. A nurse from Miami Valley Hospital has been recognized as one of the top nurses of the nation by the American Nurses Credentialing Center's National Magnet Nurse of the Year Award. That is a long name.
No doubt.
According to a release by Premier Health, Tracy Morrison, quality coordinator in the Neonatal Intensive Care Unit at Miami Valley Hospital, was given the Magnet Transformational Leadership Award at the International Magnet Conference in Atlanta, Georgia on Friday, November 12th. Morrison is a registered nurse with over 40 years of experience and has worked at Miami Valley Hospital since 1985.
Wow.
The bedside is fertile ground in a magnet culture to create and sustain an amazing career in nursing, said Mary Busalis, president and CEO of Premier Health. Tracy has demonstrated that there are no limits for a bedside nurse. For 44 years, she has shown nurses in our health system that the role of the nurse has great power to make a difference while providing professional fulfillment. You can read more at WDTN.com. That's pretty cool. Dayton Local has an article about events that are happening in Dayton, Ohio. Be sure to check that out. The list is always too long for us to cover on the radio show.
It would take the whole show, honestly.
It would. There are so many events that are happening around the area. Usually 3 pages per day.
Oh, wow.
From Dayton Daily News, popular Dayton food truck announces plan for a first restaurant. So, looks like another food truck vendor is getting a restaurant. We've talked about in the past that Zombie Dogs used to have a restaurant down in the UD campus. I don't think they do anymore. Sounds like there's another one. Check that out at Dayton Daily News. From Dayton.com, the best darn waffles in town. A Dayton holiday tradition returns this week.
Oh, we'll have to put that one to the test, Triple P.
Yes, we should probably do that this Thanksgiving week. Maggie Barlow knows her way around a waffle. For the last 10 years, Barlow has served as publicity chair for Waffle Shop, celebrating its 91st year at Christ Episcopal Church on 20 West 1st Street in downtown Dayton. Beginning today, November 16th, and continuing through Friday, November 19th. Oh, they're not going through Thanksgiving, unfortunately. Waffle Shop is the best late breakfast that could be tracked down in town, thanks in huge part to pancakes made with love and a custom sausage mix made just for the event at Landis Meats. Net proceeds from Waffle Shop are used to fund grants to community nonprofit organizations. Consider buying extra sausages and freezing them to enjoy over the next several months. It's the best kind of win-win scenario. They have a Q&A with Barlow on Dayton.com, so be sure to check that out. From Dayton Local, Dayton Live drops the COVID-19 vaccination and test requirement. Starting Monday, November 22nd, 2021, Dayton Live patrons will no longer be required to provide proof of being fully vaccinated or a negative COVID-19 test for entry into Dayton Live venues. Due to improving health conditions, we will be lifting the proof of vaccination requirement as of Monday, November 22nd. We appreciate the patience and continued support from our patrons and donors, said Dayton Live President and CEO Ty Sutton. We're encouraged that the numbers are improving for Dayton and Montgomery County. Masks will still be required for patrons 6 and over while attending a performance at any Dayton Live venue, including the Victoria Theater, the Benjamin and Marion Schuster Performing Arts Center, the Law Theater at the Metropolitan Arts Center, and the PNC Arts Annex, except when consuming food or beverage. From WHIO, Greene County deputies have captured an escaped inmate. An inmate who escaped from Greene County deputies Monday morning is back into custody after a manhunt for nearly 2 hours.
Oh, God.
Timothy Fox, 48, was arrested overnight by Fairborn police on suspicion of a felony charge of receiving stolen property. He was being held at the Greene County Adult Detention Center on Wright Way Boulevard when deputies reported that he escaped around 9:45 in the morning, deputies said in a media release. Fox also had warrants for his arrest in Clark and Champaign counties and is known to be violent, deputies said. Fox is the second inmate to escape from deputies in the last 2 months. In early October, an inmate escaped after walking away from work detail in Xenia before being located in Beaver Creek.
Wow.
You can read more at WHIO. From WDTN, 2 Dayton Metro Library locations are temporarily changing their hours. They are reducing their hours as they prepare to merge to the new West Branch. Beginning Monday, November 22nd, the Madden Hills and Westwood Branch locations will have the following hours. Both locations will be closed on Sunday. Madden Hills will be open 9:30 to 8:30 on Monday. Westwood will be closed. Madden Hills will be open 9:30 to 8:30 Tuesday. Westwood 9:30 to 6 on Tuesday. Madden will be open 9:30 to 6 on Wednesday. Westwood same time. Madden will be open 9:30 to 8:30 Thursday. Westwood will be closed. Madden will be open 9:30 to 6 on Friday. Westwood will be closed. Madden will be closed on Saturday, and Westwood open 9:30 to 6 on Saturday.
Oh, God. Back and forth.
Those are interesting hours. Let's see here. Dayton Business Journal has an article about up and running Dayton takes customer service up a notch. So be sure to check that out. Yellow Springs News has an article about the chamber music in Yellow Springs to host Telegraph Quartet. On November 21st, chamber music in Yellow Springs will host the Telegraph Quartet in a hybrid in-person live streaming performance at the First Presbyterian Church of Yellow Springs. The Telegraph Quartet is Eric Chin and Joseph Mayle, violins, Ling Lin, viola, and Jeremiah Shaw, cello, and performs with an equal passion for the standard chamber music repertoire and contemporary non-standard works alike. The quartet released its debut album, Into the Light, featuring works by Anton Webern, Benjamin Britten, and Leon Kirchner on the Centaur label. In addition to performing live, the quartet also aims to spread its music through education and audience engagement and has given master classes at the San Francisco Conservatory of Music, San Francisco State University, and abroad in Taiwan and San Miguel de Allende, Mexico. In November 2020, the Telegraph Quartet launched Chamber Feast, a chamber music workshop in Taiwan. During the pandemic, the quartet performed virtual concerts presented by the San Francisco Conservatory of Music, the National Academy of Sciences, and others. In 2020, Telegraph launched Telelab, an ongoing online video project in which the ensemble collectively breaks down the components of a movement from various works for quartet. You can read more at ysnews.com. From WHIO, 2 cats rescued during a Dayton apartment complex fire.
Ugh.
Firefighters were working to determine what started a fire at an 8-unit apartment complex on Salem Avenue Monday morning. Fire crews responded to the apartment in the 1100 block of Salem around 10:20 a.m. and found heavy fire and smoke coming from the second story of the building. 2 cats were rescued from the apartment complex and no other injuries were reported.
Aww.
They estimate the damage to be at least $20,000. No one was home at the apartment complex when the fire started. Other than the cats. Yeah, I was just about to say. All right. Well, there's some more local news that is going on. Unfortunately, we don't have time to cover the rest of that. So we're going to get into your local weather forecast. The current weather at Wright State University, brought to you by Tomorrow.io, is cloudy and 38 degrees. The wind is coming from the east-southeast at 7 miles per hour. The relative humidity is 79%. The barometric pressure is 30.13 inches of mercury. The visibility is 10 miles, air quality moderate, and no UV index just yet. Your 12-hour forecast shows off and on clouds throughout the day. Temperatures are going to reach about 40 degrees just before 10 a.m., and they are going to peak at 52 degrees at 3 p.m. before starting to cool off after 4 p.m. Your extended weather forecast from the National Weather Service at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base is the following. Today, sunny, high in the mid-50s. Tonight, increasing clouds, low in the mid-40s, but temperatures are going to be increasing overnight, so the low is going to be pretty early in the evening. Wednesday, mostly cloudy, much warmer, high in the upper 60s. But, unfortunately, Wednesday night, showers likely, and then periods of rain overnight with a low around 40. It's going to get colder. Thursday, showers in the morning, and then mostly sunny in the afternoon. Much cooler, high in the mid-40s. Thursday night, partly cloudy, low in the mid-20s. Friday, sunny, high in the lower 40s. Friday night, partly cloudy, low in the upper 20s. And finally, Saturday, partly sunny, high around 50. All right, now we're going to get into global and national news. We're going to start off with, let's see here. Here it is, the New York Times. Who's to blame for inflation? The rising prices of food, gas, and other things we buy, in other words, inflation, we're already a central economic issue of 2021. Those prices are up 6.2% over the last year, and shortages and other inconveniences are side effects of the problem. Now, inflation is also a central political issue. It is dragging down President Biden's approval ratings and fueling discontent among Americans. It's clear in surveys it will surely be the talk at the table of Thanksgiving family gatherings next week.
Not this one.
Even if, as an economics writer, I might prefer to skip one day of talking about supply chain mechanics. Now, how do we get here? Who is to blame? To help you understand, the New York Times walks you through the most obvious candidates and where the evidence looks strongest. So you can read about that in the morning edition of the New York Times. They talk about President Biden. They talk about the Fed, corporate America, all of us as citizens, and they conclude with the takeaway. Other headlines for today from the New York Times. President Biden signed the $1 trillion infrastructure bill into law. America's moving again, he said. At a virtual summit between Biden and Xi Jinping, China's top leader, the pair discussed human rights, Taiwan, and trade. Beto O'Rourke, a Democrat who ran for president in 2020, is running for governor of Texas. Steve Bannon, a former aide to Donald Trump, turned himself in after defying a subpoena from the congressional investigation into the Capitol riot. Senator Pat Leahy, an 81-year-old Vermont Democrat, will not run for re-election. New York City told healthcare providers to give booster shots to any adult who wants one, subject to the date of their last dose. New York officials are debating whether to make outdoor dining permanent. For some, hybrid work means back in the office but still on Zoom. A moral dilemma. Should a supervisor tell you when a colleague has COVID? That's an interesting debate there.
I would say that you would have to tell people that your colleague has COVID, but you don't have to name that person.
Yeah.
If it's a small office, you're going to know who it is.
Yeah, unfortunately. Continuing, a new round of fighting between Ukraine and Russian-backed separatists began with a dispute over grocery shopping.
Oh, my God.
Astronauts on the International Space Station took shelter after Russia blew up one of its own satellites in a missile test.
Oopsie.
Scorpions stung at least 503 people in Egypt after heavy storms drove the arachnids into villages. Ouch.
Oh, my God.
In a rapidly aging Japan, older adults now use more diapers than babies do.
Funny.
One town is recycling used diapers into fuel.
Ew. Would you call that fuel?
The jury in the Kyle Rittenhouse trial will begin deliberations today. A judge ruled against the conspiracy theorist Alex Jones in lawsuits brought by the families of Sandy Hook shooting victims. The divorcing couple fought, the auction houses fought, and last night the bidders fought for an art collection that eventually took in $676.1 million at Sotheby's.
Wow.
That is an expensive piece of art.
I'd say so.
All right, from Cheddar News and Need to Know. President Joe Biden on Monday afternoon signed a $1 trillion infrastructure package, marking a major legislative achievement for his administration. The bill is a more modest version of what Biden and progressive Democrats initially proposed, but it was a hard-fought bipartisan deal and nonetheless funnels billions into the country's transportation and energy systems. My message for the American people is this: America's moving again, and your life is going to change for the better, said Biden. From the New York Times, Biden and Xi meet. After signing the infrastructure deal, Biden turned his attention to China. He and President Xi Jinping had a virtual conference where they laid a lot of hot-button issues on the table: trade, global alliances, cybersecurity, tensions in the South China Sea, but didn't come to any resolutions. The leaders have already spoken on the phone twice this year and had plenty of communication over when Biden was vice president. G said, "I'm very happy to see my old friend." From CNN, jurors on Monday heard the closing arguments in the trial of Kyle Rittenhouse, the defendant who was 17 when he shot 3 people in Kenosha, Wisconsin in August of 2020, now faces 5 felonies, including first-degree intentional homicide. The defense reiterated its argument that Rittenhouse acted in self-defense and only meant to protect the community, while the prosecution portrayed him as a murderer and chaos tourist whose recklessness cost lives. From the Washington Post, the CDC added 4 more European locales to the growing list of high-risk travel destinations. The U.S. government health experts are warning Hungary, Iceland, the Czech Republic, and Guernsey that are not safe for visit anymore, even for those who are fully vaccinated. COVID cases are rising in many parts of the continent, just like here in the U.S., and the World Health Organization recently declared Europe to be the new epicenter of the pandemic. Austria, which was added to the high-risk list last month, is going back to a 10-day lockdown for unvaccinated residents to try and stop the spread. From NPR, a deadly explosion in the English city of Liverpool on Sunday is now being investigated as a terrorist attack. The blast, which killed 1 person and injured another, came from an explosive device that went off inside a taxi parked in front of the Liverpool Women's Hospital. The taxi driver managed to escape with injuries after exiting the car and locking the alleged bomber inside. The police have not yet reported a motive. In the meantime, British authorities have raised the country's threat level to its 2nd highest rung.
Wow.
From the New York Times, Beto O'Rourke is once again betting on Texas going blue in a major statewide election. The former Democratic presidential candidate and one-time contender for Ted Cruz's Senate seat has entered the race for governor, making him the highest profile figure yet to challenge ultra-conservative incumbent Greg Abbott. With hot-button issues such as abortion rights, border policy, and the sustainability of the electric grid hanging in the balance, the election is shaping up to become one of the most closely watched state races of 2022. From Bloomberg, the $1.2 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill passed with a controversial provision requiring crypto investors to report their gains to the IRS. Yes. The current language would require all brokers, which includes crypto exchanges, to issue 1099 forms to their customers. Now, a bipartisan group of U.S. senators who believe the current language is too broad is working on new legislation to narrow the scope of the requirement. From CNBC, the impact of factory shutdowns in Vietnam on apparel and footwear retailers is likely to last well into 2022, according to BofA Securities. The research firm sent a note to clients over the weekend that retailers should expect slower turnaround times than many expected, meaning supply chain delays are likely to haunt the sector for the foreseeable future. And from the Wall Street Journal, Arkansas-based meat giant Tyson also lifted prices across all of its major divisions, citing a 30% hike in logistics expenses and higher costs for materials and packaging. I can't think of a single thing that has either stayed the same or gone down, Donnie King, Tyson's chief executive, told reporters on a conference call. And that concludes today's current events. If you want to learn more about current events that are happening around the world, be sure to tune in to Democracy Now! On WWSU Radio at 10 a.m. today. But for us at the Right Morning Show, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. And when we get back, we're going to get into your daily dose of inspiration. Today, we're going to be talking about how to stop comparing yourself to others. So stick around, and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
Tommy, Ghost.
Welcome back to the Right Morning Show on WWSU 106.9 FM. We're going to get into your daily dose of inspiration now, and this comes from tinybuddha.com. 5 tips to stop comparing yourself to other people by Shiv Kumar. But first, a quote from Lori Deshane. This one's a kind of long quote. No matter what you do, someone won't be pleased. Someone will think your choices are wrong, and someone will tell you what you should do instead. No matter which path you take, someone will seem to be doing better. Someone will have more than you, and someone else's life may look more impressive on paper. But if you're being true to yourself, none of that will matter because you will have something more satisfying than approval and the illusion of success. A life that feels right for you based on your own wants, needs, values, and priorities. Starting off the article. Have you ever walked past a grand-looking house or driven through an upmarket neighborhood and thought, I wish I lived there, or the people living here are so lucky? If you have, we've been a part of the same club. I used to do this a lot. While walking my dog, I look at a house and assume that the people living in that house must have been very happy with life. My assumptions were based on nothing more than the look of the front yard and the frontage of the house. Frontage. That's a weird word.
Yeah, you can call it frontage. It sounds much more classier.
When I think about it now as I write this post, I wonder, how could I have been this naive? Despite being aware of the expression, never judge a book by its cover, that's exactly what I used to do. How can one ever guess what lies beyond the great entrance of a home? Who knows what stories the plush homes of exclusive neighborhoods hold inside them? My regular bouts of comparisonitis got jolted by a sobering dose of reality through a shocking and tragic news story some time ago. One of the homes that I used to admire became the location of a horrific murder-suicide that wiped out an entire family. I could not believe my ears and eyes as I read the news and watched the coverage on television. My mind was thinking in all its naivety, how is that possible? What could have gone wrong for residents of that beautiful home? They had everything everyone could ever want, didn't they? Have you heard the expression, human beings are like onions? We have so many layers that hide our core self. And as you peel away one layer, another layer appears. It is extremely difficult to know another person deep down to their core. How often have you found yourself wondering about the unexpected or puzzling behavior of someone you thought you knew well? The reality is that each of us is unique, and it can often take a whole lifetime for us to understand our own selves. So is it any wonder we have never managed to truly understand another person? Yet we still compare. We do it day in and day out without even being aware of how easily and how often we slip into comparison mode. Humans are naturally prone to comparisons because this phenomenon begins quite early in our lives. As young kids, we might have experienced the feeling of being compared to other children by parents, teachers, relatives, friends, peers, etc. As we grow into adults, we start comparing ourselves to other adults. Sometimes the comparisons might be a favorable light, and at other times the comparisons might be unfavorable. Either way, it leads to feelings that are unhealthy, a sense of superiority or inferiority. Feelings of arrogance or bitterness are never healthy, are they? Whether your comparison results in thoughts of, oh, I am so much better than this guy, or how does she do it? I'll never be good as her. There's little doubt that the thief of joy, as coined perfectly by Roosevelt, has taken residence in your head and is busy ransacking your mind of all joy, happiness, and contentment. Now, why is it so difficult to avoid falling victim to the tendency of constant comparison? I'm going to pause there, and before we continue the article, I want to ask Harmony, what do you think? Why is it so difficult to avoid falling victim to the tendency of constant comparison?
Because I feel like as human beings, when we externalize our experience and we look around us, we're always thinking to ourselves, much like the article displays, well, that house is beautiful, and I'm sure these people have got their crap together. He or she is a great couple. They work wonderfully, beautifully together. So it's kind of goes back to the whole, it's the story that we make up in our mind,
Hmm.
and it might not be the real story that we're making up. It's our fantasized version of what we think might be the appropriate fact and truth of the situation, when in reality, it's not always so much. We need to check in with ourselves and, look at what we have, look at what we've done, and, do a comparison for ourselves,
Hmm.
of ourselves, not the external circumstances, people, places, things, etc. So I think it's just human nature to look around and say, well, gee, aren't they lucky? Isn't she lucky, etc. Because in our perfect world, in delusional world, in our mind, that's what we would like to think. But that's not always the case. It
Yeah.
could be broken couple, just looking good for appearances. House is beautiful, but there's abuse inside. So you never really know the true story, like she says, down to the true core. You never really know someone, and sometimes they don't let you even in that close. But, we all need to focus and concentrate more on our inner world and our inner person, than the outside circumstances of our lives.
Hmm. So the article continues into something called social comparison theory. Psychologist Leon Festinger proposed in his social comparison theory that the human species engages in comparison as a way of evaluating ourselves, like a benchmarking process. We get to know more about our own abilities, attitudes, or skills by comparing ourselves to our peers. Festinger's theory contends that human beings can only define themselves in relations to other people. I wonder if that's why the age old existential question, who am I, seems so difficult to answer, as we seem to be incapable of defining ourselves independent of other people. As mentioned earlier, social comparison can work in two ways. The upward social comparison. This is when we compare ourselves to those who we believe are better than us. This type of comparison can lead to two kinds of thoughts, emotions, or outcomes. The first kind is where we might want to improve ourselves to reach the level of the person that we are comparing ourselves to, or even go past them. This is one possible benefit of comparison if we're prepared to learn, as it could lead to personal growth. If comparison can be seen in this positive light, then the thief of joy might be entitled to a change of title and live inside us as the giver of motivation. The second, but more common outcome of upward social comparison is envy, jealousy, and bitterness. Obviously, an undesirable outcome that can only lead to disappointment and frustration. And then there's downward social comparison. This happens when we compare ourselves to people whom we believe are worse off than us. This is like an artificial boost to self esteem exercise.
Oh, God.
The at least I'm not as bad as him or her attitude might help us feel better about our talents, achievements, or life situation, even if only temporarily. Social comparison begins early in life. For instance, a child in a kindergarten wanting the same toy that another kid has in his hands. It gains momentum through school, such as new fads, fashions, and gadgets that kids want to follow or possess, and becomes deep rooted in adulthood through comparisons in career, family, wealth, status, and lifestyle. This tendency to compare completes a full circle when the phenomenon moves on to adults comparing their children on how well they're doing in academics, sports, or any other activity. I don't know how many times I could say that I've heard about parents talking about and bragging about their children to other parents.
Hmm.
So I heard some noises there, Harmony. What are your thoughts on social comparison theory?
Well, I
Sounds like
feel
you
like
don't like it.
it's societal BS, honestly, Triple P, because
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it makes the air comparison. The word, let's take comparison, and we'll put alongside another word called competition. It's not a competition. It's not a contest in who's doing better and who's not. It's like my wiener is bigger than your wiener. My garden's greater than yours. It's bullcrap.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody is one better than another. We are all the same person, people. Get it right. We are all on the same pathway. And not only that, guess what? We basically are all striving for the same thing. We don't have to be like the child or the 2-year-old that snitches the toy from the other person or snitches the joy from somebody else because we want it. But it kills me because society has shown us a lot of disruptive behavior because look at what we're going through now, and this is somewhat of a part of it because there has to be somebody bigger, better, with more power, more strength, more this, more that, and, as far as the whole, you're doing really well because, there's other people out there that are doing a lot worse than you that, live in their car or, no, it's wrong. It's just crappy.
Mm-hmm.
We're all at different stages of things. We're never, ever going to be on the same page, anywhere with anything. We are all at our own different points of evolution, individual, sovereign evolution, not, this collective consciousness of, well, I got a better car than you. Mine's a lot newer. I paid less money for mine than you did. We could do without that. So this is just basically bull crap that's been brought on by society and somebody that's got some sort of mentality of, I can do better. Now, maybe people might not agree with my theory, but if you think about it, not necessarily growth or motivation. You can look at it in that manner, sure. But if you're not going to want to do it for yourself and you simply have to be motivated by another, then you might want to look at yourself and where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be a self-motivator. Don't just look at other people for the motivation. You have to look at yourself and fix your own stuff first, and then it'll all come along just fine. But yeah, that's my rant.
So this is what the author Shiv Kumar says in terms of escaping the comparison trap. So to feel mentally and emotionally healthy, it is essential to free ourselves from the comparison trap.
Yep.
I'm sure none of us wants to experience the feeling of unworthiness from upward social comparison or superiority from downward social comparison. So what can we do? Here are 5 simple ideas to get better at saying no to the disease of comparison-itis. Number 1, define what success means to you. If we nailed down our own definition of success, the number of times that we indulged in comparisons would significantly be reduced. For instance, if our success definition were about raising healthy, happy kids, we wouldn't really be bothered about someone else's thriving business, would we? Number 2, define your own strengths. Become aware of your strengths. It will help in minimizing the tendency of comparing our weaknesses with other people's strengths.
See?
Yeah. The great physicist Albert Einstein failed his French exams. Fortunately, he didn't let that failure define him. As he was
couldn't even tie his shoes.
Couldn't tie his shoes, couldn't cross the street alone.
And wore the same suit every day.
Wore the same suit every day.
It didn't even
Guess
come
what?
a pair. There we go, crazy professor.
And yet he developed the theory of relativity. Look at that.
Yeah, he was pretty relative, all right.
Which is interesting that we're talking about comparing ourselves to others, which is, relative.
Exactly.
It's funny how things come around.
Yeah.
Fortunately, he didn't let that failure define him as he was aware that his strengths lay elsewhere. Number 3, think of the big picture. Whenever you find yourself slipping into comparison mode, which will inevitably happen, we are human after all, just remind yourself there's always more to a person's life than what you're seeing or hearing. Don't let a peek through a small window into someone's life lead to delusionist or disappointment with your entire life. In other words, don't compare your whole movie with another person's highlights reel.
No doubt. Like I said, yeah.
Number 4, always be a student. Develop the continuous learning philosophy. If you always think of yourself as a student with lots more to learn in life, it becomes easier to think in terms of collaboration and not competition with peers. If you think of yourself as an artist who is still painting his or her masterpiece, you might not be tempted to feel inferior when you view other people's paintings because your job's not done yet. And finally, focus on small successes. When comparisonitis strikes, take up a small project that you can complete in a relatively short time and do it well. It could be something that you might have been putting off for a while. For example, let's say you started a new online business and you start to feel unsatisfied about the lack of progress. Maybe you're looking at peers in your industry who are at similar stages of the business cycle but seem to be getting a lot more traction. Instead of letting this get you down, how about you focus on something small, like writing a blog or doing a podcast, or doing a radio show on WWSU 106.9 FM.
That's right.
Doing that specific task could help you lift your spirits. Have you seen pieces of driftwood floating in a river? They come together at some point due to the action of the waves. They might stay together for a little bit of distance, and then at some point down the river, the force of the waves separate them and they go their own ways. Our lives are like that. People come into our lives and go out of our lives at different stages of our life's journey.
Sometimes.
Yeah, there are those forever friends, but most people come and go. We all begin our journeys at different points, end them at different points, and often our paths also take different routes. Why then should we compare ourselves to others? After all, we're not running the same race. So try this exercise. Take a little trip down memory lane by rewinding your life some 15 to 20 years. That is, if you're if you're not younger than 20 years old. Think of someone that you always compared yourself to back then. It has to be someone that you've lost all contact with for many years. You also haven't heard about them from anyone. Do you have any idea what they're doing now? In fact, let's go one step further. Do you know if they're still alive? Chances are the answer is, I don't know. So, my friend, in the long run, do comparisons really matter? So,
No.
What do you think?
No. And you know,
Nope.
it's funny, as I hear you talk about this,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be like, really, and I'm totally honest with you here. I have never compared myself to anyone when I was younger. And it was always my grandmother that was like comparing me to other people. Well, why don't you do like she does? Or why you do this? Or why you do that? Why can't you be more like blah, 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 blah? And I'm like, I would get so angry at her, and I'd be like, stop comparing me to everybody else. I am who I am.
Yeah.
I'm me. But yeah, I just was always really interesting when I think about that as I hear you read this, because that's never really been something that I've ever really done, at least like as far back as I can remember. And it's always irritated me when people tried to compare me, you know, saying, well, you're better off than most, or, you know, you're not as bad off as so-and-so. And it's like, you know what? I don't care about them. I care about me.
Yeah,
And
there you go.
some people would be like, that's selfish. But I just got done telling somebody this morning and last night, stop paying attention to everything outside of you. Start paying attention to what's inside of you. It's not selfish. It's just keeping and tending to your own issues, situations, and your own betterment. When we look outside of ourselves, you know, we have a tendency to, like I said earlier, do the whole, well, I want that, or look at this person doing this, or look at this person going here, there, and they have each other, and blah, blah, blah. That doesn't matter. Mind your own damn business.
All right. So that concludes our daily dose of inspiration. We're going to take a very quick break and then do Trivia Tuesday. So gather your friends and family around the radio. Have a little bit of fun. You're listening to the
Woohoo.
Wright Morning Show on WWSU 106.9 FM. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Right Morning Show on WWSU 106.9 FM. You probably heard Harmony there talking about comfort food there just for a brief moment.
I can't wait till Thanksgiving. I'm so excited. They haven't eaten in almost 2 weeks, so it'll be great.
And that's because today's trivia has to do with fast food. So everybody gather around. It's Topic Mash time. This is a set of mixed questions from the fast food category.
Nice.
Because today is Fast Food Day. Let's begin. Who uses the slogan, "Have it your way"? Is it Hardee's, McDonald's, White Castle, or Burger King? So again, who uses the slogan, "Have it your way"? Hardee's, McDonald's, White Castle, or Burger King?
Burger King.
I think it's Burger King if I'm not mistaken. Because we definitely know McDonald's is "I'm loving it." I don't know if White Castle even has a slogan.
They probably do, but I don't remember because they're not as popular.
Time is
But
up.
yeah,
It
there
is
you
Burger
go.
King.
Yep.
All right, question number 2. Since the Taco Bell Chihuahua got fired, she's been looking for work lately. What car insurance commercial did she appear in? State Farm, Geico, Mercury, or Progressive? So since the Taco Bell Chihuahua got fired, she's been looking for work lately. What car insurance commercial did she appear in? State Farm, Geico, Mercury, or Progressive?
I think it was either, it may have been Progressive or Geico.
Yeah, I don't remember. I know the Geico has the gecko. That would be interesting, a Chihuahua and a
Well,
gecko.
they've also had cavemen too, so
Yeah.
they tend to rotate their mascots.
All right, well, guess what? It was Geico.
Okay, cool.
So, in truth, the Taco Bell dog is a dog named Gidget, and she appears in the Geico insurance commercial doing auditions to be what else? A Geico spokesperson.
Nice. I quiero Taco Bell. Get
Yo,
Geico.
get a Taco Bell. I think I need a bigger box. Remember that?
Yes, that's funny.
Next question. Every year around February, this Canadian-based quick-service restaurant encourages us to roll up the rim to win. You have to roll the R's when you say it. Which restaurant is this? Tim Hortons, Krispy Kreme, Starbucks, or Dunkin' Donuts?
Tim Hortons.
That sounds like a Tim
known
Hortons
as-
thing.
Yeah,
don't know.
Timmy House. Those were originally from Canada.
Every year around February, this Canadian-based quick-service restaurant encourages us to roll up the rim to win. Tim Hortons, Krispy Kreme, Starbucks, or Dunkin' Donuts. Got a few seconds for those of you who are playing with us to lock in your guess. And the answer is Tim Hortons.
Yay.
This is a huge yearly contest where customers roll up the side of their coffee cup to see if they have won a prize. It's almost as big in Canada as McDonald's Monopoly game.
Oh, wow.
Next question. Founded by Forrest and Leroy Raphael of Ohio in 1964, this restaurant was based on the idea that fast food didn't necessarily need to mean hamburgers. Was it Long John Silver's, KFC, Arby's, or Quiznos Subs? I think this might be Quiznos, if I'm not mistaken. Founded by
Yeah.
Forrest and Leroy Raphael of Ohio in 1964, this restaurant was based on the idea that fast food didn't necessarily need to mean hamburgers. Long John Silver's, KFC, Arby's, or Quiznos Subs? I don't know.
I think it was Long John Silver's.
We are both wrong. It was Arby's.
Oh, wow. I was going to say Quiznos was like a lot more recent.
The name Arby's comes from the initials RB, which stands for Raphael Brothers. See, I always thought it meant roast beef. That's what I thought it meant.
Don't get me started. Oh, my God.
When the two started their restaurant, they wanted to name it Big Tex, but unfortunately, that name was already taken by another company.
Yeah, I don't think it would have went over very well.
Question 5. This alarmingly red food is sold in many British chips shops. What is a Savoy?
A what?
Savoy. Savaloy. A spice sausage?
A savory?
Savaloy.
Savory.
Savaloy.
Huh.
Savaloy. Spice sausage, a type of tomato, bird native to northern England, or a type of fish?
Probably a type of fish.
It might either be a fish or a spice
Fish or sausage.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Fish or sausage.
Oh, it was a spice sausage.
Okay.
A Savaloy is a spiced pork sausage, which is made mostly from pigs and trails, including the brains. Ooh.
You. Gross.
Next question. Who founded the fast food chain Sonic? Was it Tim Banks, Ronnie Brewer, Douglas P. Smith, or Troy N. Smith Sr.? So who founded the fast food chain Sonic? Tim Banks, Ronnie Brewer, Douglas P. Smith, or Troy N. Smith the Sr.?
Well, that one I would not know.
I am unsure about this one either.
I will go for the last one.
Troy N. Smith Sr. All right, let's see what the answer is. Got a few seconds for those of you who are playing with us. And the answer is Troy N. Smith Sr. You got it.
Ew.
So Smith started the company in 1953. Sonic had over 3,500 locations throughout the nation by the time Mr. Smith passed away in 2009. Some credit a man named Charles Pape for founding Sonic as well, but Smith's lone idea started the company. It wasn't until 1956 that they partnered up to build the first franchise in Oklahoma in 1958. Next question. This tasty ingredient comes from cucumber, cheese, seeds, pickles, or tomatoes. This one's easy peasy.
Pickles.
This tasty ingredient comes from cucumber, cheese, seeds, pickles, or tomatoes. Tomatoes. I can't talk today.
They're pickles.
I'm going with pickles on this one. Delicious and nutritious. No, not really nutritious, but
I've made homemade pickles before. They're delicious.
They're short on the carbs, so if you want to avoid the carbs in your condiments, pickles are the way to go in that case.
They're delicious.
So relish in North America is used on hot dogs and hamburgers. The name comes from cucumbers being pickled. Unfortunately, we are out of time and cannot continue the rest of the quiz, but that came from funtrivia.com. So we are going to close off today on the Rat Morning Show. Coming up next is Democracy Now! By Amy Goodman and Juan Gonzalez. Get the latest current events that are happening around the world, as well as special guest interviews. And then from 3 to 4:30 p.m. is Sage Calhoun with the Vibe Check, where he plays various different music. So everybody, thank you for tuning in to the Rat Morning Show today. Thank you, Harmony, for coming on.
No, thank you for having me as always.
Oh,
and I
no
will
problem.
see you probably tomorrow and also next week for Thanksgiving.
Awesome. And everybody have a great day. We will see you back every Tuesday through Friday at 9 a.m. on WWSU 106.9 FM. Take care. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.